Untouched Topics, the podcast, where we dive deep into the raw, real, and rarely discussed sides of marriage, from the joys and challenges to everything in between. Today, we're plunging into a topic that is really fundamental to human connection, finding a life partner.
Hmm.
Specifically, we're looking at arranged marriages and professional matchmaking. We've gathered some fascinating sources that really cut through some common ideas about them.
Yeah, they offer quite a fresh perspective, actually.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack the details, the sort of pros and cons, and just how common these methods actually are around the world. And, understand how tradition is meeting modernity and finding lifelong partners. Looking at these sources, what jumps out at you first?
Well, what's really striking is how often arranged marriage is misunderstood, particularly, in the Western world.
Right.
It gets mixed up with forced marriage a lot, which our sources are very clear is different.
Yeah.
And then there's matchmaking itself, how it's gone from these like ancient community things to really quite sophisticated modern services.
Yeah.
We really need to dig into what they actually mean beyond the stereotypes.
Yeah, that's crucial. Okay, let's untangle these terms. We hear arranged marriage, matchmaking, sometimes used, like you said, interchangeably, but they are distinct.
Hmm.
Let's start with matchmaking. What's the basic definition?
Okay, so the Cambridge English Dictionary basically says matchmaking is the activity of arranging marriages or romantic relationships between people. Simple as that. It's a really broad term.
A big umbrella. And under that, we find arranged marriage. The sources make it clear this is a tradition with deep roots, right? Especially in parts of Asia, the Middle East, Africa.
Exactly.
And the key thing is the big role family members, often parents, play in picking the partner.
Right. And that brings up a really important point. Perception versus reality. Because, like we mentioned, people hear arranged and think forced. But that's often not the case at all. Arranged marriages can, and often do, involve a lot of input from the couple themselves.
So they get a say.
Absolutely. They usually have the option to say yes or no. It's more like a very carefully considered introduction, sometimes with a chance to date briefly before deciding.
Okay, that's a big difference. And here's something that surprised me. Estimates suggest over half of marriages worldwide are arranged.
It's huge.
And often, the only time we hear about them in the West is when people talk about their, surprisingly low divorce rates compared to, compared to love marriages.
Mm.
So what does this tell us about why people get married in the first place?
Well, if you connect the dots, it's a powerful reminder that romantic love is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right.
People marry for stability, for companionship, to start a family. Sometimes it's practical things like finances or just cultural expectations. It's often a very pragmatic choice for lots of valid reasons.
That definitely reframes things. Okay, so given that, let's dive into some potential upsides of arranged marriages that our sources mention. What stands out?
Well, first off, they can seriously take the pressure off finding someone yourself.
The stress of dating.
Exactly. It lets people just be themselves, without feeling they constantly had to impress or put on a show. That can be huge relief.
I can imagine. And it's not just about less stress, right? It seems to point towards a different kind of compatibility.
Precisely. Arranged marriages often lead to partners who share similar beliefs, family backgrounds, education levels, even financial situations.
Because the parents are looking for that alignment.
Exactly. They tend to look for someone of sort of equal or comparable standing, which contrasts with just relying on romance,
Yeah.
where you might discover big differences in those areas way down the line.
Okay, so if arranged marriage is one specific type, how does matchmaking, that broader term, fit in?
Right, so matchmaking is the wider category. It includes arranged marriage, sure, but also things like professional matchmaking services, maybe even dating apps in a very broad sense.
Okay.
The core idea is just facilitating a connection between two people who might be compatible, usually aiming for something stable and lasting.
So what's the key difference then between matchmaking, say, a professional service, and an arranged marriage? Especially thinking about who's in control.
That's the main thing. Unlike arranged marriages, matchmaking services usually put the individual firmly in the driver's seat,
So less family involvement.
or often none at all. The matchmaker works for the client. They use detailed profiles, interviews, data to find matches based on what the client says they want, whether that's financial status, religion, hobbies, whatever. The client makes the final call.
It sounds like there's more overlap maybe than people realize, but also clear differences. What are the key similarities?
Well, both are really based on the idea that getting some outside help can be beneficial for finding a long-term partner.
Right, an objective view.
Whether it's the, life experience of parents or the database and expertise of a professional matchmaker. And both tend to look beyond just that initial spark.
Mm-hmm.
They acknowledge that things like values, life goals, cultural fits, these are critical for a marriage to actually work and last.
Makes sense. So what are the core differences then? Where do they really diverge?
I'd say the biggest one is that level of family involvement we talked about.
Yeah.
Matchmaking is usually driven by the individuals, minimal family input. The matchmaker's job is to understand the client.
Whereas arranged marriage.
Families are central. They're doing the selecting, the facilitating, often using their own social networks. And another key difference is how they find partners. Matchmaking services use professional tools, interviews, personality tests, big databases. It's quite structured.
Okay.
Arranged marriages often rely more on informal community connections, maybe traditional local matchmakers, social ties, introductions through trusted people.
And it feels like modern matchmaking has really adapted, hasn't it? It seems quite flexible.
Oh, absolutely. It's highly adaptable. You can find services for everything from casual dating right through to serious marriage-focused searches. It caters to a really wide range of goals.
So it blends tradition and modern life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It offers that guided expertise, but you're still steering the ship. That's appealing to a lot of people today.
It's fascinating to think this isn't just some new... How far back does this idea of matchmaking actually go?
Oh, way back. A
That.
very long history. You look at Jewish communities in Eastern Europe, Russia, they had professional matchmakers, shadchans, who were incredibly important for centuries, starting way back in the Middle Ages.
Wow.
Ancient Greece had the promnestria, a female matchmaker. India's arranged marriages go back to at least the 4th century. Japan's omiai started with the aristocracy around the 12th century.
Incredible timeline.
And even Queen Victoria, ruling Britain in the 19th century, she was apparently quite the matchmaker, trying to arrange marriages for her kids and grandkids to influence European politics.
That's amazing. Okay, so connecting that long history, how does it work today? Like a professional matchmaking service now?
Well, typically, the sources say they start with a pretty deep chat about your relationship goals.
Yeah.
What are you really looking for?
Okay.
Then you fill out a confidential profile, usually have an in-person meeting to really nail down the specifics. The matchmaker uses all that to search their database, maybe even network, to find compatible people.
And then they just set you up.
Pretty much. They recommend matches, and if both people are interested, they facilitate an introduction for a first date. And crucially, they usually ask for feedback afterwards.
Ah, feedback. Why is that important?
It helps them learn more about you, refine the search, and make even better suggestions next time. It's an iterative process.
So does this personalized approach, does it actually work, especially now with, everyone seemingly on dating apps?
It absolutely can, yes. The big difference is that personalization. A lot of people turn to matchmakers because they're set up with dating apps.
Really?
Well, they might not be having any luck, or they're worried about privacy, fake profiles, that kind of thing. It feels more targeted, like going to a specialist.
What are some of those specific dating app frustrations that matchmaking tries to solve?
Oh, there are quite a few. Fake profiles, catfishing, that's a real issue. It's easy to waste time or be misled.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
And beyond that,
Yeah.
some studies suggest all that constant scrolling and swiping can actually make people feel more lonely.
That seems counterintuitive.
You'd think so, but yeah, getting ghosted, not finding real connections, it can take a toll on your mental health. So professional matchmakers tackle this by screening everyone, often in person. They handpick potential partners. It's much more confidential.
So it saves time and hassle.
Definitely. Saves time, energy, and for people who are quite selective, it provides really customized introductions geared towards serious relationships or marriage. Some services even claim really high success rates. One source mentioned 85%.
Wow, 85%. That's impressive. Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive. We've covered a lot, from ancient traditions to these very modern services. It seems clear that whether it's family guiding things or a professional expert, the goal is pretty similar: finding that compatible connection for something lasting.
Yeah, and it really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? It brings up a question for you, the listener. In today's world, with so many choices, what kind of guidance, if any, would you look for when searching for a meaningful connection? And why?
That's a great question to ponder. And for those of you listening who might be looking for a modern approach to finding a life partner specifically aimed at marriage, we also wanted to mention virginmatchmaking.com.
Right.
It's a platform designed for that specific audience, people seriously looking for marriage.
Yeah.
You can actually register for free, and the interesting part is you only pay if and when there's an actual compatibility found with someone. So it's something to check out if that fits what you're looking for.